Hey and welcome to this video about Soft Gel Press and Tipper. Soft Gel Press and Tipper is a method for extending your natural nail in an easy and durable way without you having to master the technique of building a nail from scratch. Soft Gel Press and Tipper is actually made of builder gel, which is gel that is pre-cured, so they already have the perfect shape and length. Apply with our UV cured gel glue, that's why they're gentler and more durable than, for example, fake nail applied with super glue. Soft gel nail tips are suitable for most nail shapes. There are various nail shapes like trapezoidal nails that are overly triangular or overdone to be feasible. But most people will be able to fit or adjust the shape of the tips so they fit perfectly. When using soft gel press-on tips, there are 3 important rules to remember. First and foremost, it's crucial to choose the right size tips and have them customized to fit your nails perfectly. It offers maximum durability and ensures the protection of the natural nail shape. Secondly, it is crucial to practice using the appropriate amount of gel glue. Too much gel glue will actually flow out to the sides and hit the skin, while too little gel glue will not be enough to fill the small gap between the natural nail and the tip. Practice to become a 100M champ in assessing the perfect amount of stuff. Give yourself room for practice. Don't get frustrated if it doesn't work out on first try. It will come with time and practice, no worries. Third, it's crucial to save the army nails in the big UV lamp until the end. The little UV lamp is actually only meant for doing a surface hardening, which ensures that the tips are securely attached. It just can't fully cure this gel glue, so make sure to finish with the big UV lamp. Finally, I want to give a housewife tip to those with short nails. When you have short nails, there's a risk that the gel glue will hit the skin at the tip of the finger. To prevent hitting fingertip, put household tape on skin before applying tips to avoid direct contact. Go ahead and make a little curve in the tape so it fits under the natural edge of the nail, kind of like if you were adjusting a padlock. Make sure to really press the tape firmly onto your skin and then just use the tips as usual. When you're done curing, you can just remove the tape. In general, it's vital for a good, lasting outcome that you follow our instructions carefully and perform all steps accurately. And if you should become unsure about something, or if you need guidance, feel free to reach out to us. Have a blast. When you're extending with soft gel press-on tips, it's super important that you choose the exact right size for your nails. They must avoid pulling on the natural nail shape, which means pushing them upwards, because they have selected a tip that is too large, or squeezing the sides of the nail out of the natural nail shape. They should fit perfectly with both the sides of the nail, as well as the nail's natural C-curve, which refers to the nail's natural arch. So what we want to do now is to choose the right sizes. The initial step I take when we must select a tip is in fact to formulate an informed estimation. I'd like to start by finding the tips for my thumbs. So I begin by thinking which one I think or believe will fit. I'm trying to start with the first one, this size here called 0. I put that on my thumbs, and here there are 2 things I need to look for. The first thing is whether the tip fits the natural C-curve of the nail. You can pretty much see it, I believe, most of the time by rotating the nail on its side if it is the natural nail and the tip of the nail is visible to your naked eye. Seems like they're getting along pretty well, which fits pretty perfectly here. So I would say that one had a tip that fits the nail C cooking well. You can also turn it upside down, just to observe how it appears from above or below, or whatever this particular angle is referred to as. However, I typically believe that the most effective method of determining is by placing your fingernail on the side in this location. So this particular one fits quite well in comparison to the C-coke, in my personal opinion. When we instead take a look at parameter number 2, which corresponds to the sides of the nail, indicating the point where my natural nail ends on the side, it becomes evident that this tip is slightly larger than what is ideal in size. It goes further out than my own natural nail does, and it just looks weird and disproportionate when I also get some color on. So even though it might seem okay at first glance, it's actually a tiny bit too big. I'm going to try to show now, if we not only go down one size but two sizes, then we formally get a tip that's a little bit too small. I do the same. I place the tip on my nail in this area, and you can actually observe fairly rapidly that yes, it does not provide complete coverage for the entire nail, as it is actually too small when compared to the size of the nail. Even though it's not exactly easy to see here, you can still see that it's going too far. So I think otherwise it fits more or less with the C curve as well. It's not because it's completely off. There was slightly less space on the larger tip, but it could potentially work if the sides fit in any other case. But the sides have to fit, so this tip is simply too small. If we presently take a tip that is positioned in between these two tips, specifically tip number 1, and carefully place it on the nail, and I just start by turning it sideways so you can see that it fits perfectly with my own apartment's natural IC curve. When you also look at the other parameter, that is, whether it fits on the side of the nail, you can see here, now I just need to find focus, that it fits perfectly where my own nail ends. When taking into account both the one hand and the other hand, it becomes evident that this size tip, similar to number 1, will be absolutely perfect for my thumbnail. You perform the same process with the remaining 4 nails. And once you have successfully identified the appropriate size tips for all your nails, simply proceed to apply the tips around your cuticles in a careful manner. All these tips have a specific rounding up here at the top, and that rounding should also ideally match the cuticles. However, there may be instances where you might find that your nails don't fit perfectly with the size of your cuticles. Rounding up here. And the only thing you need to do with it is basically just take your file and proceed. I usually use either the 180 side of my 180 file or a 220. 240 if you have it lying around, depending on how much needs to be removed. So I am going to just grab my 100 file. What we want it to do here is simply to... What's a little more? You can see that my nail is relatively straight. Well, my cuticles don't really round much. It is very fair. Consequently, I am going to make an effort to enhance the fairness of this tip by a small margin. There is still, if you have the same perspective as me, then you can perceive there is still a tiny little bit of space remaining in this area. In the space between the tip and my natural nails, it's like there's just an area where the fit isn't perfect in terms of shape. And that's probably because there's too much up here, so it doesn't reach all the way down to my toenails. So I'll file a little more, just a bit. Try reinserting it. At this point it actually fits much more comfortably. The absence of air in this location is now evident, as there is no more air within this enclosed environment. Thus, it penetrates completely and terminates in close proximity to my cuticle. So now this tip is perfect, just as it should be. If you're sitting out there thinking that this size tip fits perfectly with my C-curve, like it is absolutely spot on for my own natural nail shape when you look at it from the side, but when I look at it from the height, it appears slightly off and doesn't align with the overall aesthetic I'm aiming for. In terms of the location where my natural nail ends, it is slightly larger than desired, so it's better to choose the size tip that fits your natural nail C-curve. And then just file it a little on the sides too. You are more than welcome to do that. The most important thing about this process is that you get your tips adjusted and customized, if you will, so that they fit perfectly. Totally perfect with your own natural nail. Now, the better you get your tips customized to your natural nail, the better they will hold and the more comfortable they will be on, and also the more natural they will look to wear. So take some time to choose the right size tip that fits both the nail's C-curve and the sides of the nail, but also spend a little time filing them down if they require a little bit of tweaking somewhere, so it becomes extra perfect. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with all my other 4 nails, so that we have a complete set of perfectly fitted tips before we can move on to the next step. Now I have selected all the tips that are suitable for my nails, and I have filed them on the sides if needed, and I have filed them at the cuticle area so that they fit perfectly based on the shape of my cuticle. Now we can move on to the next step. Once we have prepared our press-on tips to find the right sizes, we need to file the inside of the tips smooth. You can do that with a 180 file. For example, with 100 or 180 pages. I usually use the 180 side. It's just easy to file the inside of the tips here. It's important that this gel glue we're about to use to glue the tips on has something to adhere to. And if the inside is completely smooth, it won't be able to stick properly. It's important to give them proper peace and quiet. Use this manual nail file, as I said. If you possess an electric nail file, it is even more perfect and ideal for the intended purpose. These sand rollers are completely circular, thus they fit flawlessly into the purpose of the tip. I have equipped a sanding roller with grid 180 at this location, and I effortlessly take my tip and file it in from the side using gentle motions. You only need to file the area that requires to be on the nail, of course. As you can see here, the tips have now been tidied up on the inside, and they can simply be cleaned with cleaner, just to get rid of the dust that has been created. So I essentially just take one wipe that is free of flights and clean all of them on the inside. Now all tips are dried inside. It's extra good because you've been sitting and messing with them, since you had to find the size of tips, so you just remove all possible dirt or grease that your skin has left on tips. So when you've cleaned with cleaner, you're actually ready to move on to the next step. Now that we've filed the inside of our tips and cleaned them with cleaner, it's time for us to do an effective prep. I have already prepared my nails. If you want to see how to do an efficient preparation, you can check out our video guide on preparation, or look it up in our theory book, in the step-by-step guide on preparation. As I said, I've already done a prep, so now we need to apply our base coat. The way you apply base coat is by taking a tiny little bit of product, not a lot, because base coat should actually only be applied in thin layers, so you just scrape the brush on one side and on the other side just grab a tiny bead of product. You position the bead roughly in the center of the nail, slightly higher than the cuticle area, and then you sort of push the brush hairs down a bit so they unfold. And then you kind of push up a little bit until you reach the cuticle, obviously without touching either the skin or the cuticles. It's very important. So you're branching out to one side, and what we're doing with the base coat is to button it into the nail. So you flourish on the opposite side. And we accomplish that because the base coat requires to be the adhesive layer from the natural nail to the new product. We need to get it all the way down into all the grooves and any small irregularities that are in the nail. So button it up. When we've done that, we seal the free edge, and it's always super important that we seal the free edge, meaning we close it off right here at the tip, because otherwise dirt can get in between the natural nail and the product. And of course we want to avoid that. So that's why we always seal the free edge at every layer we apply anything at all. And then there is in fact a base coat applied on the thumb. We follow the same procedure for the other 4 nails, ensuring each one receives the necessary treatment. Fairly thick layer, consume all of it, and also don't forget to seal the edge that is open. I have now applied the base coat to all 5 nails, and I am going to cure it for a duration of 60 seconds in the UV lamp in order to achieve the desired outcome. We have now placed a minute in the lamp, and there will be a sticky layer on this base coat after it has been cured, similar to a very thin sticky layer on the surface of the nail. It is completely normal, and it must not be removed. This sticky layer ensures that the next layer, which is the gel glue, will adhere even more effectively. So don't remove this, we're just ready for the next step now. Now we will apply and securely attach our press-on tips using our compact dual LED flash lamp for a fast and efficient manicure. We achieve it by utilizing our press-on gel glue in the process. And our tip, and then we must locate an appropriate amount of glue to put in the tip in order to ensure proper adhesion and secure attachment. And this is where it can get a little bit tricky. You see, it's a bit like this. Exercises do the most, and you can't be completely perfect at it the first time around. How much adhesive you put in. It is a sensation, and you have to kind of determine how much adhesive I should put in the tip here, so that it will cover precisely to my natural fingernail. Not more than the natural nail. We don't want it to spill on the sides, as product touching the skin is something to avoid. There should not be so much that there is a whole clump of glue out here at the tip afterwards, so we just need to have the perfect amount of glue. And when I say just, it's not just because it can be a bit difficult to make that assessment. Once you've done this a few times, it gets easier. So you gotta have patience with yourself, and it's okay if you don't do it perfectly right from the get-go. The key is to avoid product contact with skin, and if contact occurs, promptly remove it to minimize potential harm. But I'll definitely show you both how it looks with the perfect amount of glue, too much glue and too little glue. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to turn on our lamp, in a little while at least, because as soon as I've applied the glue into the tip and put the tip on my finger needs to quickly go under this little LED lamp. And it's actually easier to hold on to the tip and hold it correctly if I've already turned on the lamp. So when I'm ready, I switch on the lamp, apply glue, and insert my hand underneath. At present, I am putting glue into my tip here, and I am refraining from putting glue all the way to the edges, because I am aware that when I attach the tip, the glue will automatically flow out to the edges due to its adhesive properties. To avoid hitting all the corners and edges, I won't be able to fully cover them. The glue will mostly be concentrated in the middle, although it may also spread to other areas.
So what I do is I carefully place the tip out here, right by the cuticle, making sure it's positioned correctly for the best result.
In a 45-degree angle, it quietly slides down my nail, moving smoothly and silently, without making any sound or causing any disturbance. And it doesn't have to go fast here. It's not a battle against time, I was just about to say. You better feel like you're putting it on at a pleasant speed.
In this manner, at present, you have the ability to perceive that it fits flawlessly and is an ideal match for the given criteria.
We still want to hold on to it and make sure it doesn't go anywhere because it can move, since the glue hasn't hardened yet. Now I can calmly slide it in under the lamp, making sure it sits where it should. And in fact, it actually only requires approximately 15 to 30 seconds of time to complete the task. Some choose to give it a full 60 seconds under this little lamp. The most important thing about this step is really just that the tip gets a chance to settle in. It does not need to fully cure under this lamp, but it just needs to sit so it does not move.
And at this very moment, you can already perceive that the tip is firmly stuck. It is not moving or budging an inch from its current position. That's how you apply a tip, just like that.
At this moment, I am going to demonstrate to you what it would resemble if I try to apply an excessive amount of straight. So now you have to be pretty precise, but I'll do my darndest to make sure that...
A bit too much line on this tip. There you go.
There should be a considerable amount of excessive, just like this, so I can demonstrate to you all what to do if you encounter the act of putting too much line on. Currently, I'm simply going to turn on the lamp to provide light in the area.
Put the tip on, I just have to cry crookedly.
And you can observe here that glue is flowing out on the side and up in this location. So what I do is I swiftly place my nail beneath the lamp. Just provide me with a duration of 3 seconds, alright? Upon the elapse of a period of 3 seconds, the lime undergoes a slight hardening process, resulting in a small degree of increased firmness, but not tough enough to that it's kind of stuck, but it's probably hardened enough that I can actually pull it off in some way or another. And then I actually succeeded in removing this glue from my skin quite effectively in only 3 seconds beneath this lamp. So that's what you can do if the glue starts flowing out to the sides. Now that I've removed this excess glue, I can just make sure to press it, because it's not completely cured yet. Can I just make sure to push it into place and the glue still won't flow out to the sides? If I press it like this, it will also sit where it should. And now I can heat it properly in these 15, 30, 60 seconds, however much one might think is needed to make it stick well.
Already at this moment, you can observe that this piece of advice is located in the correct position.
If I now on this third finger here show what happens if I put too little gel, well then I'll just try to place a tiny little dollop right here in the middle.
I sure hope it's not too little. When I then place the tip on my finger, I will most likely be able to swiftly see and determine that the adhesive substance known as glue is
either does not reach all the way to the end of my tip, or it does not come out here on the sides as I anticipated it would. And it's like really, really important, and I can't stress that enough. It is extremely important that there is glue on the entire nail. There cannot be a place here where there are natural nails and tips without glue. And likewise not on the side either. Because if that happens, it can actually be super easy, and there will also be dirt, water, dust and bacteria getting in. And they will snuggle up in this little ballroom and have a good time. And that will both create lift, but it can also create nail diseases such as greenie or fungus and stuff like that. So we don't want that. There needs to be glue everywhere. So what I do now is just calmly and smoothly slide this tip off again. I'm applying a little more glue. Now I'm just taking a tiny little ball out in the middle again. Moving towards the one located at the end. Perform exactly the same actions as before. Place this at a 45-degree angle in relation to the reference point,
and allow it to slide down my fingers. Like this, quiet and calm. I prefer the tranquility. And it actually takes a little bit of time for the adhesive to move all the way out.
Now I actually overdid it on this one. It's fine, so let's just try to show again how to remove it effectively. After just a brief moment under the lamp, the glue hasn't fully cured yet, but it's at a nice consistency that makes it easy to remove without any hassle.
There you go. So I will simply place it in its appropriate location, ensuring it is in the correct position, as it should be, according to its designated spot. The tip is ideal, and it goes into the lamp until it sits snugly. I think it fits pretty well now. And then I just want to add tips to the remaining 2 fingers.
As you can see, I have now applied tips to all 5 nails. They have only had a few seconds in this mini lamp, and this one is not powerful enough to cure the glue, so we now have to cure them for a minute in the big dual LED flash lamp. The tips have now been completely hardened for a duration of 1 minute in this lamp, and we are now able to move forward to the next step in the process. All the tippers have now been under our UV lamp for a minute, and what we need to do is shape, lengthen and transition. And you can choose from a bunch of different shapes in these press-on nails, so you might be perfectly happy with the shape. If you're it, then you don't need to file much, but if you want them like a little bit shorter, you can totally file them afterwards for a more concise look. That's an option. You can also, if you think that this one is a tiny bit too sharp, just smooth out the curve a little bit. You have the flexibility to easily model the shape and length of the nail as per your preference. In addition, it is highly recommended to file the edges of the artificial nail to ensure a seamless match with your own natural nail edges, creating a flawless look. And if you believe they appear pleasant around the edges, therefore you have the ability to easily check and confirm the transition to the natural state. No. So there is something that simply catches the eye, something that you did not quite manage to catch. When you file the tips in the first place, I think it looks really nice here. Otherwise, you can just take your 180 page or a slightly fancier file or Pray's 320 files. It all depends on how much needs to be filed. And just take and smooth out the transition here. You can also do it with an electric nail file. We suggest using a sanding roller with grid 320 and file the transition as well, however, other than that, so we can simply proceed to the next step without any further delay. Once we've filed the shape, length and transition, we need to create a raw surface on all nails. When adding color later, surface should be slightly rough. If completely smooth, like here, paint won't adhere to surface, making it impossible for the paint to stick. So we simply need to create a roughness on the surface. And we accomplish that using our grid 180 file. On the page, preferably with page 100, and we smoothly breeze right over to them really. It's a seamless transition that enables us to quickly access the information we need. You can also, if you want to, use an electric nail file. We recommend using the sanding roller with a 320 grid. However, if you are otherwise satisfied with the way the hour looks, then the buffer is just fine and there is no need for any further adjustments. It's totally awesome. There is a roughness that is created on the surface of all the tips. So essentially we just take a lint-free wipe, enhance it with some cleaner, and carefully wipe the tips to ensure they are free of any dust particles or debris that may have accumulated. Once we have finished completely dusting off the tips, filing down the shape and ensuring that the surface is smooth, all you really need to do is apply the gel polish on top, making the process incredibly easy and straightforward.
Now we can go to the next step.
When we apply a gel polish color to our pre-zone tips, it's actually not necessary to put on a base coat. Tip and grey surface adhere to gel polish colour. Skip base coat already applied under tip, go straight to colour for easy adherence. No need for base coat, it's underneath the tip. If you haven't already prepared your gel polish colour, you can just roll it between your hands to mix the colour pigments that may have settled at the bottom. So let's blend the colours together. And then we apply our first Dr. Gel polish. The way we do it is by scraping the brush on one side of the bottle and on the other side of the bottle, and then just picking up a little bead of colour. We position this small colourful gem approximately in the middle of the nail, a bit closer to the cuticle, and simply push the gel polish colour downwards towards the cuticle, ensuring a beautiful and seamless application.
We do that on one hand, go out to the other side, all the way down, along the side, and then continue in the same direction until we reach the end. Also over towards the middle.
So we seal that edge in principle. You don't really need to seal an edge that is not this one. It is purely a tip. It does not touch the natural nail, but it is always nice cosmetically to have color on the tip. And the initial layer does not necessarily have to completely cover. It is perfectly fine if it does not cover every single thing. Second layer will surely give entire color. It's crucial not to have thick layer of gel polish. If it flows down the sides or touches the cuticles due to movement, you've applied too thick of a layer. So, like a super thin layer of gel polish, it doesn't have to be fully opaque from the beginning. If you want to get even closer to the cuticle, you can use a small nail art brush. This is our small art brush. Use it to push the gel polish color further up without hitting the cuticle. It allows for precise application, ensuring a flawless manicure. The bristles are soft and gentle, providing a comfortable experience. Add this art brush to your collection and enhance your nail art skills with ease. So it is actually just a small, neat trick that can make it look even more nice, elegant, and professional. It is also highly effective if you have just acquired a small amount of fluff in the gel polish for some unknown reason or circumstance. So a little art brush is actually pretty good at just fishing it out without it being visible. And I actually just execute that on the remaining 4 nails as well, in precisely the same manner and method. I extract a small pearl from the product and carefully apply it without touching the cuticle. After applying my color to all 5, they simply need to be placed in the UV lamp for a minute. After 60 seconds inside the lamp, there will still be a plug in the paint, which refers to a sticky layer on top of the color. Can't touch it, shouldn't be removed, totally normal there, so next layer of paint can adhere even better. So we can just apply another layer of gel polish from here. I'm going to apply a second coat of paint now, and I'm going to do it the exact same way I applied the first coat of paint. On this occasion, the truck should, of course, cover a significantly greater distance than it did the previous time. We just take a little bit of product on the brush, just like last time. Place this close around the cuticle in the middle of the nail. Push it as close to the cuticle as we can without hitting the cuticle.
And to one side and to the other side. And along the edges.
So we are also pleased to go completely to the edge and out here on the side and seal the free edge out here, which makes us very happy. And it is a significant advantage if, instead of placing your color on the area where you grip your brush like a lid, you are able to place it on the top of the nail by holding it out here, more or less horizontally with your nail. Because if you hold it like a T, like this, then you'll basically just scrape off your color and scrape off your gel polish color in some way. If instead you hold your brush more horizontally with the nail, then you'll flow your color more, and it will give a much nicer and more even color surface. The same I will then do on the remaining 4 nails. It's extremely important when applying color that absolutely nothing at all gets on the skin. If something emerges on the skin, you can simply utilize a small rose pin or an alternative tool to remove it by scraping. They also have some really good microwave sticks, don't they? It's just like a mini cotton swab, so you can dip it in a cleaner and just dab it on the edge if something happens to get on the side. Or something should come up about the skin up here. It's definitely important that you get it removed as soon as possible, and you get it all removed, and definitely before you harden the product. Now I've applied color to all 5 of my nails, and they just need a minute in the UV lamp. We have now applied a second coat of paint and can proceed with the top coat. There will still be this sticky layer of prickly pears on the paint. You still can't remove it, and you mustn't touch it either. We just need to add top coat on top. Now we're going to apply our top coat, and it's applied in exactly the same way as we just applied our color. The thing with our top coat is that it is no wipe, which means there is no sticky layer, sticking to your nails when the top coat has cured. After the top coat cures, your nail is ready to use. You need oil, but there's no sticky layer on the top coat, so you can proceed without any concerns. So I simply take and scrape the brush on one side and on the other side, then take a pearl-sized amount of product, place it in the middle of the nail right around the cuticle, and push it up. And you have to remember, the entire nail needs to be covered in top coat. Therefore, the top coat functions as a protective layer and a shield that provides protection against smudges, cleaning, and various other activities that we engage in during our daily lives. It is crucial that all areas of your nail are covered with top coat, and that we also seal the free edge with top coat, so there is something to protect in every single place. I do the same thing on the remaining 4 fingers here. The final layer of polish has been applied to each of the 5 nails, and now they simply require a minute of curing time under the UV lamp. They are now hardened for a minute, and as you can see in this location, there is no sticky layer. They're just ready for the next step where we need to apply oil. One of the last things you do is go out and wash your hands. I've already been out and washed mine, so now I can just apply nail oil. Nail oil is super important after a closed nail treatment, and preferably several times a day. You apply it both around the cuticle and also preferably underneath the nail. You can sort of envision that your own nail is similar to a branch. If the branch is completely devoid of moisture, it will snap very rapidly and easily when you attempt to bend it. If instead you possess a pleasant fresh branch brimming with a considerable amount of liquid, and you attempt to flex it, it will most likely simply flex with this cracking motion. So the same goes for your nail if it's dry. Dry and dehydrated, it will quickly crack even with the slightest hit or impact. If, on the other hand, you have really good, healthy, oiled, fatty, not greasy, but oiled and hydrated nails, you will find it much easier to maintain healthy and strong nails through all the minor traumas of day-to-day life. So oil is always incredibly important, incredibly good, and I would also like to conclude your nail treatment with a delightful cuticle oil. But now I've definitely applied oil, and my nails are completely ready to use.